Yeah, I mean, you've got, one group that are loyalists to Hillary. You've got another group that are loyalists to Donald. And then you've got this huge swath of people in the middle that are undecided or independent. What does Trump have to do to make sure that those undecided voters vote Trump?
Well, one thing I think he has to do is start telling the truth. In other words, if he goes out there and says, I met with the president of Mexico and we never discussed the wall, and then the president comes out and says, we did discuss the wall and I said I would not pay for it. So in other words, he's got to really come across clean and more honest. Second of all, I think he's got to occasionally put his sock in his mouth. The man says things that are totally off the wall that piss off a lot of people. I mean, when you see an election where people want to vote for the best of the worst, that's not very exciting. So I think in those two areas, he's got to make some big improvements.
John Paul, I have a question about the economy. It seems like Donald Trump's plan is the best for it. He wants to take the business tax rate to 15%. We saw Apple get attacked actually over in Europe because Ireland was actually gave them preferential treatment, and then you saw a super state of the EU come in and say you can't do that. Do you think Donald Trump can differentiate himself and actually appeal to business leaders like yourself, saying I'm going to protect you, we're going to have a great capitalistic society here, no crony capitalism, and we will defend you?
Not coming across like that, he couldn't, because what you've got to do as a businessman, any business person knows, you have to balance it out. Fine, if you're going to reduce the taxes, that's great, that's good for everyone. I'm all for lower taxes, but what are you going to do to cut out of government spending so that our deficit doesn't continue to go up, it starts going down? There's got to be a balance of the two. I think when Mr. Mark Cuban made that comment about the stock market will crash in the event that Donald Trump, gets elected or go down anyway.
Yeah, he did say
I think
that.
A lot of,
the Dallas Mavericks, we want to actually play that soundbite because Mark Cuban was on Fox Business yesterday, and here's what he said if Trump becomes president. Listen to this, JP.
Okay.
There are so many external global influences on our market. What money comes here when there's uncertainty overseas, what money goes into treasuries, and where does it go if, rates go higher or lower. And then there's the uncertainty of the election. I mean, I have my Trump hedge on. In the event Donald wins, I have no doubt in my mind the market tanks.
You agree with that, John?
I think there's no doubt that no matter who wins, we're going to see the market off a little bit. Because if Mr. Trump does win, the big question mark for a lot of people in the financial community would be, how the world is he going to be able to reduce taxes, which we hope he can, by the way, without a plan, and that's what they need, a plan to reduce our deficit. Very important. But on the other side, Hillary has the same challenge. During the administration, which I believe she's going to follow through with the Obama administration, is we've had nothing but debt, and it escalates and escalates. And then if you continue to raise taxes and at the same time don't have a plan to get rid of that deficit, and their plan sucks that they have right now, both, I think either candidate, you're going to see a little bit of a shift right now. We're going through a period of time.
But JP, then what happens? Because neither one of them are talking about that. The national debt has doubled under President Obama. It's nearly $20 trillion. We pay out just for entitlements almost half of our annual budget toward entitlements. She has another entitlement of the paid leave, which is north of $1 trillion. Even with her raising taxes, she adds to the deficit.
That's right. Either way, however you look at it right now, they're addressing, both candidates, what they think the people want to hear to freak them out or scare them or get them enthusiastic to get elected. They are avoiding some of the big issues, and the biggest issue, you just hit it, was a deficit. We're going to go bankrupt. We'll follow some of the other countries in the world that went down the tubes because we didn't address it. So I think more and more, and that's why a lot of smart people are standing on the sidelines right now. A lot of smart people saying, well, let's see if maybe something changes. I'm also amazed at how many people I talked to said that. I don't like either one. I'm either Republican or Democrat, but if I had to vote right now, I'd vote for Gary Johnson because at least he's a third choice, and who knows, something may really come out of that avenue.
Do you think if Gary Johnson gets into the debates that could be a game-changing play here? Because this is the one factor we're 60 days out that we haven't really addressed yet. Do you think the debates could really shift those independents one way or the other? Katrina Pearson came on this show and she said that Donald Trump wanted to raise interest rates. That will be quite scary, I think.
Wait a minute, Louise, come on. She said that this economy is not working because the interest rates are higher than she made a mistake. She said, obviously I meant lower. She didn't say Trump wants to raise interest rates. Let's at least be clear here.
I thought
Trump did not say he wants to raise interest rates.
It's true. She said lower, she said higher. You can hardly tell. And maybe that's the problem with Trump. We really don't know how he's going to pay for all this jam. Do you think that the debates can change that? We can get some clarity?
If you put Gary Johnson in the debates, you are going to see a change. I saw him on television a couple of weeks ago. I said, wow, he and his running mate make a lot of sense. They both make more sense than Trump or Hillary. It's amazing. So I think it'd be a very good thing. I believe they need 15% of the vote, or the proposed vote, to be able to get in there. And I sure hope they get in there. I think it'll make things a lot more interesting. And maybe Jill also from the Green Party. I think it'll make it much more interesting.
Why is it more interesting?
Really
it's just going to take votes away from one of them. And so if Gary Johnson and Jill Stein are on the debate stage, which candidate do they take the votes from? Do they take from Hillary Clinton or do they take from Donald Trump, you think?
What a great question. People ask me that all the time. JP, isn't that like losing a vote or just throwing one away? No, it's not. All Americans should vote. If you don't like either candidate, vote for somebody that you might like, not the worst of the two. It could make a big change. It could be at the last minute, all of a sudden, the third party pops up and wins. It's possible. In this country, anything is possible. So I don't think it's a wasted vote. I think it is a vote of conscience.
I think it's what about Evan McMullin, because he could take the state of Utah out of the Republican column? I mean, is it possible in a tight race that these third-party candidates, McMullin, Stein, and Johnson, could make the difference?
They
for
could
Hillary
make a big
Clinton,
difference.
yeah. Hillary Clinton wins in that scenario, for sure. Yeah,
for both, they could win for both. They can make a difference for both.
Yeah, John Paul, I think you brought up a great point, because it's not a wasted vote when you vote your conscience, and that's what vote your beliefs, and that's what Gary Johnson said. And he's actually polling very well when it comes to millennials, and as well as certain business leaders, as you just said. But I think what's important to note is that most people are trying to find a difference and an alternative. Now, do you think that should basically Hillary or Donald win the election, that they will actually tackle? Will they actually go after the entitlements or the deficits? Do you think it's something that they will do?
Very good. Answer, don't know. During these political years, they promise everything, and not that much happens afterwards. So the answer is, I don't know. I would say it's probably more likely that someone that, other than Hillary, would go after the deficit a little stronger, I would think. But then again, you can't.
It's going to take a crisis. You have to admit that. It will take a crisis of a giant spike in interest rates, where our interest expense basically is a tsunami across the economy. That's what will end up happening.
Yeah, we're right now in a very critical spot in the United States. But overall, no matter who gets elected, you can't screw our country up that much in 4 years. Okay, you can screw it up a little bit, but we'll bounce back. It's just sad that we're in this situation, Dave. I would love to see Johnson and Jill in that debate. That would be very exciting for our nation.
All right.